Synchronicity in Jungian psychology does not mean magical thinking, nor does it suggest that the universe rearranges itself to reward optimism. It refers to meaningful coincidence events that are not causally related yet are connected through significance rather than mechanism. Jung proposed that reality is not structured solely by cause and effect but also by acausal connecting principles, meaning that inner psychological states can coincide with outer events in ways that feel symbolically aligned, without one directly producing the other. To understand synchronicity in a way that improves life, one must first abandon the fantasy that it is a tool for control. It is not a technique for manifesting outcomes nor a shortcut for decision-making. Instead, it is a shift in perception, a refinement of awareness, a recognition that the boundary between psyche and world may not be as rigid as modern rationalism assumes. Jung observed that when individuals undergo periods of transformation, crisis, or deep introspection, synchronistic events often increase not because the external world changes, but because the psyche becomes more sensitive to symbolic resonance. When someone dreams of renewal and the next day encounters an unexpected opportunity, the event feels charged, not random. The value lies not in proving supernatural design, but in recognizing that meaning is the organizing principle of psychological life. If one learns to pay attention to meaningful coincidence without becoming superstitious, life gains depth, texture, and direction. Synchronicity invites interpretation, not passivity. It asks, what is this reflecting in me, rather than what is the universe giving me? This subtle difference determines whether synchronicity becomes growth or delusion. Jung connected synchronicity with archetype structures of the collective unconscious that shape human experience universally. When an archetypal theme becomes activated, such as transformation, death, rebirth, or integration, individuals may begin to notice external events that mirror their internal state. The outer world appears to echo the inner movement. This mirroring is not proof of destiny, but evidence that perception is guided by psychological readiness. You notice what resonates with your developmental stage. Therefore, to use synchronicity for a better life, one must cultivate inner awareness, journaling dreams, observing emotional patterns, identifying recurring symbols, and acknowledging transitions. As the psyche becomes more conscious, it detects meaning with greater clarity instead of drifting through events mechanically. Life begins to feel participatory, reflective, dynamic. Synchronicity does not remove responsibility, it intensifies it, because once you perceive symbolic alignment, you must decide how to respond. Ignoring it leads to stagnation, exaggerating it leads to projection. The balanced position involves curiosity without obsession. When meaningful coincidence occurs, ask, what part of my inner life is being mirrored? What transition am I undergoing? What archetypal pattern is active in my decisions? Jung emphasized that the unconscious seeks wholeness and will generate symbolic material to guide the ego toward integration. Synchronistic events can function as externalized symbols, highlighting unresolved tensions, neglected desires, or emerging potentials. If someone repeatedly encounters themes of creativity during a period of career dissatisfaction, this may signal suppressed artistic identity. If themes of endings appear during relational instability, the psyche may be preparing for psychological separation. Synchronicity becomes useful when interpreted as symbolic commentary rather than literal instruction. It is reflective, not directive. The danger lies in inflation, believing oneself specially chosen by fate, which strengthens ego rather than integrating it. Jung warned that inflation disconnects individuals from reality, whereas true individuation deepens humility. Synchronicity should increase awareness, not superiority. Living with sensitivity to synchronicity requires psychological grounding. Rational evaluation remains necessary. Coincidences must be assessed practically, while still honoring subjective meaning. This dual attitude prevents regression into fantasy. The improved life Jung envisioned was not easier but more conscious. Awareness of symbolic correspondence fosters alignment between intention and action. Because you begin noticing patterns, earlier conflicts become instructive rather than merely painful. Choices feel less arbitrary because they are integrated within a narrative of development. Synchronicity reframes experience from random sequence to evolving story. Humans naturally seek narrative coherence. Without it, existence feels fragmented. By recognizing meaningful coincidence, you participate in constructing coherent identity. This enhances resilience because events are contextualized within growth rather than perceived as isolated misfortune. Jung also linked synchronicity with the concept of the self, the organizing center of the psyche beyond the ego. When synchronistic events occur, they may represent moments when ego perspective briefly aligns with the deeper totality of the psyche, producing a sensation of rightness or inevitability. These moments often accompany decisive turning points, not because fate intervenes, but because inner readiness meets outer circumstance. The practical application involves cultivating reflection, meditation, dialogue with unconscious material. and disciplined interpretation. Over time, one develops symbolic literacy, the ability to read life psychologically rather than mechanically. This literacy reduces anxiety because uncertainty becomes meaningful rather than chaotic. Synchronicity therefore improves life not by controlling outcomes but by enriching perception, deepening responsibility, clarifying direction, and strengthening connection between inner development and outer engagement. It transforms coincidence into reflection and reflection into conscious evolution. When approached with balance, humility, and awareness, synchronicity becomes less about supernatural orchestration and more about psychological alignment, allowing life to unfold with coherence rather than fragmentation, and encouraging deliberate participation in the ongoing process of individuation where meaning guides growth and growth refines perception and perception reveals further layers of meaning. In a continuous dynamic exchange between psyche and world,